Hey, you random stranger. I'm actually very excited to listen to this track, or rather, two tracks from the Gundam series, The Witch from Mercury. I remember reacting to one of the EDs from the series, the one by Red Bethmark, which I loved. So this live orchestral recording of The Witch from Mercury, and I think the other track is called Asticassia, was recommended by Yang Wen-li. So thank you so much, and let's do this. Okay, so we're starting with Asticassia. Immediately with the bouncy, very light spiccato on the violins. Ooh, that was a very nice trumpet entrance. Nice, I like the swell on that, like the that's great. Poor second violins and violas just having to do that repeated like da 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 da. Oh, wow. That was such a sharp turn, like key change. French horns are so pretty. It's actually kind of interesting that a lot of the violins aren't really doing a thick, deep vibrato for the long legato sustain notes. They're kind of just doing it quite lightly. I guess to match the lightness of the spiccato. Yeah, see, they're kind of just really lightly doing the vibrato when they switch to the long bowings. It's so light. You see how it's just like right in the middle, which is probably like the lightest, bounciest part. Ah, okay. Hang on. So that was the end of Asticassia. I think what I enjoyed about that track was how they relied on time-tested techniques to convey the physical sensation of flight and the excitement of flight. Flight thematically always links with hope. Throughout a lot of that piece, you had the combination of the light, bouncy spiccato on the middle of the bow, while you had the long sustained notes either from other parts of the string section or from the brass. The very light bouncing quality of the spiccato gives the piece, as you would expect, a very light, sort of very buoyant quality, what you need when you want to convey flight. But then those long sustained bowed notes are also what you need to give that sense of lift, of gliding over long distances. Other techniques too contribute to that sense of flight, like you had those very rapid trills and the quick runs, especially from the flutes and the piccolo, which again function as these very flighty sort of light voices. I really liked that part where the solo trumpet came in. I think it was around here. Yeah. just that single solo trumpet soaring above kind of like a bed of soft strings. Again, there's a contrast between sort of the sharpness and the singularity of the brass, the trumpet sound, which is carrying that very heroic main melody against a sea of string sounds, which kind of carries it along. Generally just a lot of swelling in the overall music and each of the instrumental sections. So instead of playing those long sustained notes as a straight tone, like duh, you swell it, duh, to mimic a sense of acceleration and of lift. And then of course the most obvious way that they created a sense of lift, this one was actually quite abrupt, was to change the key from E major, just one semitone up, to the F major. So we're in E major and we end on the 5, which is the B major. A few seconds of silence. Da, and there we land straight on the 1 chord of the F major, so just the F major chord. The reason why it's such an abrupt shift and really feels more like a punch through the clouds or something is because B and F are separated by a tritone. That's the most dissonant interval in Western music, arguably. So to jump from the B to the F in such a short span of time without any intervening chords or any pivot chords, as you would say, is quite a dramatic key change, which is why that break was so exhilarating, and I kind of get why they opted for just an abrupt key change as opposed to like a smoothly transitioning one. Yeah, overall, I think this track was really good at just conveying a sense of forward momentum and flight, and therefore a sense of hope and kind of the feeling like you're flying towards a much better future. There you go. There's the biting spiccato that's like closer to the frog of the bow, to make it sound more angry, more warlike. Ah, nice. Vocals on this one? It actually reminds me of Witcher 3 soundtrack, which itself draws from, you know, European folk tradition with the yodel-like vocals. Oh, it was really cool. There we go with the crazy string crossings. Ah, she sounds amazing. Okay, I feel like the orchestra really woke up with this one. Interesting electronic elements. I love that guy he was bowing the wrong way and then he just fixed it. As you do. It's interesting that we're getting a spiccato-like sound effect, but it's actually electronified, while we still do have the traditional orchestra. There's your flutes. Ah, beautiful French horns. And the trombone just like providing such a strong bass support. Epic support. What is that guy? Does he have his legs crossed? That lead trumpet? We just go back. I'm like, wait, what? Okay. It's interesting that we're getting the electronified version of the string crossings as well. This guy is always doing his own bowing, but he always fixes it. Oh, Oh, she went too fast. Ah, I love her. It's funny that we're not getting like close-up shots of the percussion. Unless they were added like in post. Is that it? Oh, we get behind the scenes shots. Okay, I do want to see which orchestra this was. Yeah, Synchron Stage Orchestra. Oh, I guess they recorded like several sessions of this and then kind of edited it together. Budapest Art Orchestra. I feel like I've seen that name before. Wasn't that the orchestra that did Iron Mouse's operatic track? Huh. A couple of nitpicky things. I mean, it's not really nitpicking. It's more, oh, that was odd. I have to see the trumpet guy who has one leg crossed over the other. That he's got his leg crossed there, right? He's kind of just leaning back with one leg crossed over the other. That's insane. I guess he's good enough to play with enough support without actually having proper posture. It was also really funny seeing this strings guy. He's always doing the opposite bowing of everyone else around him, but he always fixes it at the end. Which, by the way, is totally fine in an orchestra. Ideally for like the perfect rendition, you're always like matching bowings. But if you can catch yourself and go on a down bow when you're meant to go on a down bow at the right time, then I guess it's fine. I actually feel bad for this girl because the camera actually captured when she bowed too fast and then ran out of bow. Yeah, she kind of, so it was da 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 da. So the momentum is meant to carry your arm so that by the time you go ta-da, you're just perfectly there at the end. Whereas she kind of just went too far up with the up bow and then ran out of bow before she could do the ta-da. Anyway, it's just a really tiny thing, but it was very unlucky that they actually caught that. Another really cool, I guess, weird thing that I caught that you rarely see in classical orchestras is that the entire double bass section has black hair bows. Now, I'm not really across the whole black hair bow versus white hair bow debate, but from my understanding, black hair tends to grip the strings a bit more and give you, I guess, a fuller sound. But that just caught my attention because you never really see that in the classical orchestras of the world, like, you know, the Philharmonics and the, you know, the London Symphony Orchestra. I know for double basses who are 90% supporting the bass line, black hair would offer certain advantages. It's just an interesting observation. As for the actual piece of music, my favorite thing about The Witch from Mercury was how they really seamlessly integrated the traditional folk and the classical orchestral elements with more modern electronic production. The vocals that I love, the very raw, earthy vocals with that slightly nasal, very open-throated delivery. It's definitely not your typical melody, but that's just the strength of it. Each consonant is delivered almost with like an accent, and the vocal phrasing is just so expressive, especially with that like yodel-like quality. The other thing, going back to the electronic elements that struck me, was that it wasn't just an electronic accompaniment of the orchestral track, there was actual mimicking of orchestral elements. So for example, you had the synthesized sounds of the bouncing spiccato that you normally would get from the strings. They also replicated in electronic form the rapid string crossings. I think the electronic mimicking the acoustic really fits in with the theme of Gundam. You know, it's sort of, you have this blend of the organic with the mechanical. And then by extension, it leads to all these philosophical debates that you always get with mech anime, which is where does the human end and where does the machine start? I always enjoy orchestral performances, and these two tracks were no exception. So thank you so much for giving me the chance to just kind of sit in the epicness of it all. It was great.